Hey guys, welcome back to another David's Outdoors video. Today I want to discuss the Frontier SB1174P and SB1164P inverted snowblower series by John Deere, or I guess Frontier, who's a sub of John Deere. So I just want to start off by saying that this was actually the very first snowblower that I bought when I bought my 4052R and decided that I was going to get into the inverted blower residential snowblower snow removal model. The reason that I bought this blower as opposed to any other blower at that time was because it was the most affordable. I would say it was the cheapest blower on the market as opposed to the other competitors like Normand or Chronovost, which typically are almost 3 times as expensive as this specific blower. So when I first bought them, I was honestly kind of naive. I was excited to get into the snowblower game, and I thought, let me just throw any inverted snowblower on the back of my 4052R and I will be the king of the town. And I was royally wrong when I thought that, and I have learned, and we'll talk about the reasons why I was wrong in this video. But to start out, I kind of want to just start with a pros and cons list. So one of the pros of this snowblower specifically, and as well as the SB1164P that you could put on a 3 series, it is a lot more affordable than the competition. Like I said before, this blower is going to be half to almost 3 times less expensive depending on which snowblower you buy. The competitors would be a Normand or a Chronovost, which in, at least, I'm not sure about Canadian, but in US dollars, this one runs about $6,000 to $7,000 if you want to add the hydraulics for the chute deflector and the rotation, whereas a Normand or Chronovost would be closer to that $14,000 to $16,000 mark. It's also very easy to source and get your hands on. If you've tried to go out and buy a Normand or a Chronovost, at least in the United States market, it is very difficult to get one. It is almost worth more to have an allocation now than it is to have your own snowblower. So I would say that this snowblower, you could almost go into any John Deere dealer and you could have it within a week or 2 weeks. And that's not common with this type of inverted snowblower. So that is a huge pro, is that you can get this at just about any time, really anywhere, as long as you have a John Deere dealer near you. So the other thing is it's a lot smaller than the competition. So because of that, it means it's much easier to store. You could, put wheels on the bottom and kind of roll it around a lot easier. Whereas a Normand or a Chronovost, you're talking about a snowblower that's, taller than I am at full height, about 2 times as deep, taller, housing and everything, and it weighs about double the weight of this specific blower. And when it comes down to it, it's harder to store. So the smaller compact feel of this means it's a lot easier for like a homeowner who just wants to throw it in the shed or put it in the back of the garage over summer, and it's not going to make as big of an imprint as even a standard rear ag blower. It's kind of a similar footprint as one of those. They're also very easy to maintain and keep up. I mean, as you can see, just taking off these 3 kind of screw nut deals here, you can open that whole thing up, and why don't I just show you. So as you can see, it's as easy as just spinning off those 3 bolts, and you have access to just about everything. If you have a clog in there at some point, you can easily get in there with a shovel and kind of clean it out, and you can access the paddles on the bottom. This is a huge plus, because sometimes when you've got that more slushy or that kind of packy type of snow, you can have some problems if you get yourself into a little bit too much, and this makes it very easy to maintain. That is a huge pro, is that you can easily maintain it. You've got your grease points, your grease zerks, everything is very accessible. You're not really getting yourself in weird positions trying to fix things. So that is a huge pro on this, is that it is very easy to maintain and very easy to keep up, which obviously if you're not using it for 6 months out of the year, you want that ability to make sure when you're putting it into storage, you have that peace of mind of, hey, this thing is ready to go. It can just stay there and I'm not too worried about it. The other nice part about this snowblower is that I've found that it does a very good job going through all types of snow. It can go through the slushy stuff, it can go through that hard pack wet stuff. You can even go through icier type of plow berms at the end of the driveways. It is a very, very versatile unit, and I've never run into a situation where this thing has not done what I have wanted it to do. Weather quality, that's debatable, but I have blown whatever I wanted to blow with this thing, and I've never run into any issues with it, besides the occasional shear pin breaking. So with that being said, again, the only time that you are going to not be able to do what you want to do with this snowblower, it really depends on the tractor that it's on. Obviously, if snow is piled up this high, you can't get your tractor through it. You can't get the snowblower to it. The snowblower only reaches up. So as you can see, when it's up, you really don't have a whole lot of clearance down here. You know, not even a foot. Obviously, you can adjust it and, you know, kind of adjust that top link to raise and lower that a little bit. But ultimately, if you have a snow drift that, you know, maybe goes on 10 foot and you know, is maybe chest height, you're going to struggle. You're not going to be able to get through that. And that's kind of the biggest weakness of inverted blowers in general, is just you are very limited with what you can and can't go through. Now, let's say you have a plow berm at the end of the driveway that's maybe this tall, you know, it's maybe only this long. And so you have enough power with the tractor to kind of push through that initial, you know, heap to where it'll push it towards the back, and then you can then clean it. But again, if you have drifts that are just, you know, absurdly long, or if you struggle with a longer, you know, farmyard gravel driveway, this is not going to be a snowblower that will be able to take on those drifts. So now I want to get into the cons of this blower. What I have found, and the biggest con that I have with this snowblower, is it only weighs 630 pounds. You have a 74-inch snowblower, and it only weighs 630. And I would have to look at what the 64 weighs, but I'm sure it's not much, you know, it's definitely around that same, probably 500 or so, 550 pounds. So what that means is, obviously, you're backing over the snow, dropping the blower and going through it. Well, when you back over the snow, you know, you're talking about a 6,000-pound tractor that's packing that snow down, and you only have a 630-pound snowblower that can cut through that. And so what you'll really find is, over these two tractor marks, it will just kind of ride right on top of those marks. And obviously, if you've got an inch or so of pack there, your whole driveway, you're only an inch over it, you know, in terms of scrape quality. And now, not all snows will be like that, but I will say that I have run into that problem many, many times, where it didn't have the weight to be able to get down and scrape through. And I've had many, many unhappy clients, you know, and I've got about 100 clients that I go and service, and they were not happy. You know, they couldn't see the end, or they couldn't see the concrete or asphalt or gravel, whatever it was. And it created slippery surfaces. It just was not a good situation. And so that's why I upgraded to the Normand, is actually because it's a 1,200-pound blower. It is 2 times as heavy as this one, and I don't have that issue of it not being able to scrape anymore. And my clients have been nothing but happy since I made the switch to that one. So on a commercial level, this blower just does not hold up to that competition, which means, you know, there's a reason it's half the price of the others. And so in terms of a commercial market, I would not recommend this blower, just because it doesn't have the weight or the power to be able to scrape, you know, every driveway to, you know, down to where a client would be happy. But on a farm driveway where you maybe only want it, you know, an inch up, or, you know, you're going to adjust that skid shoe to kind of give you an inch ride over the surface, it's a great blower. You know, that scrape doesn't really come into effect at that point. Now, the biggest thing that I hate about this blower, and I've heard it from many, many people, is that it does not come with a factory replaceable cutting edge. The design on this snowblower was to try and wear out, like have wearable skid shoes. And so you're supposed to replace those skid shoes once they wear down. Well, obviously anybody who's ever moved snow, it's terrible. You're constantly running across hard surfaces that wear down everything on them, and it's just bound. You're going to have you're gonna have to replace the cutting edge. So the current cutting edge on here is welded on, so the only way to replace it is by breaking those welds and putting on a whole new bolt-on system in order to put a new cutting edge on there. And for a commercial contractor like myself, who does about 1,700 driveways in the winter, that is a huge deal. You know, I am going through one, if not maybe even two cutting edges per snow season, just because I am constantly going. You know, I'm out for 8 hours at a snowstorm. You know, I don't really get a break. And this thing just, I don't foresee that being a good thing. I've run into issues where the first snowstorm, I actually took off both skid shoes on the side and just let it run on top of the cutting edge so that I could try and get a better scrape on it. And even then it was not where I wanted it to be, obviously, because of the weight. The other thing, and again, this kind of only is an issue when it comes to more continued use. It has a lighter duty hydraulic system. So in terms of the chute deflector and the hydraulic rotator, they're kind of subpar. They're not very heavy duty items, and over a long period of time, I don't see that holding up very well. And it's the same thing with the chute deflector and the chute itself. They're just not made very heavy duty, and again, I don't know how long that'll hold up compared to, you know, a thicker chute, thicker deflector, a bigger auger housing and everything. As well as the metal is a lot thinner than the competition. And the welds are more spot welded as opposed to the entire thing being welded. Overall, I just don't think that this snowblower will hold up to many seasons of use if you're kind of a contractor. I think as a homeowner, this would be an okay model if you're just doing maybe your yard and some of your neighbors, but if you are a commercial contractor, this is not the snowblower that you want to have. So overall, those are kind of the pros and the cons that I have for this specific snowblower. Like I said, the 7.4 and the 6.4P series. But it has taught me a lot, you know. So as a commercial guy, this just does not fit my needs. You don't have the scrape quality, you do not have the weight behind it, and it overall just does not give me or allow my clients to have the quality that I need to put, you know, to have with their accounts. I'm not scraping on driveways very well. You know, one single bump and the whole thing kind of comes up, and you know, I lose scrape quality on all my clients, and there's no way for me to fix it because it just doesn't have the weight behind it to you know, adjust it. There's only so much adjustments that can be done when the blower weighs half of what the competition weighs. And so that's why I upgraded to a Normand 82, because now I have a 1,200 pound blower. However, with that, there comes a con. By upgrading to that blower, we have, you know, a $6,000, $7,000 blower here, but to upgrade to a Normand or Pronobus, you're looking at $14,000 to $16,000, and on top of that, because of the weight of that blower, I also had to add a hydraulic rear accumulator to kind of help take some of that weight or that stress off the back of those 3-point arms, and that was a $1,200 upgrade. So you're very quickly looking at, instead of $6,000, $16,000 for one of those nicer blowers. But they do offer the quality, and I have not had as many complaints with those blowers as I did with this blower. So my final thoughts are, if you're a homeowner, I think this would be a good blower. However, I only think that this would be a good blower if you kind of live in an area, or if your driveway is kind of secluded from those high winds, if you're only going to have a few snow drifts as opposed to daily type of, you know, opening up your driveway situation. So I think, and if you look at, there's another guy who has this snowblower, and he goes by the YouTube channel The Weekend Farmer, and he's got some reviews and some testing of this. And if you can see, he's got more of kind of a wooded driveway, and I think that's what this will excel at. I think if you live in Wisconsin or kind of like a more foresty area, or Michigan, where you still get those bigger snowfalls, all that snow, but you don't necessarily have the wind like we do here in eastern South Dakota, where you need a blower that can, you know, take out those 4 or 5 foot drifts on sometimes a day-to-day basis. Excuse me. And so I think that's kind of the main winner of this blower, is for a homeowner who has a longer driveway, who wants to be able to face forward, not constantly be looking backwards in reverse, who wants to be able to face forward and drive forward. And with that long driveway, that's kind of closed off from the elements, you know, where you'll get snow, because this thing could take on 2 foot of snow very easily. But as soon as you get that drifting and that wind and that hard pack, that's where, you know, you're going to be limited by not only the blower but the tractor as well. And you need kind of that rear facing or front mount ag type blower to really push that forward and get through that snow. So overall, I think that if I were John Deere, I would maybe look at this model a little bit more. I don't think that it really fits very well into the homeowner or the commercial application. And John Deere, I think you need to really make it a lot sturdier. You need to make it heavier. And you know, you just kind of need to beef the things up a little bit, and I would make it a little taller, a little deeper. Because for us commercial guys, it just doesn't cut the job. And even for residential, there's such a small, minute market for it, you know. And I think overall, if you were looking at getting this snowblower, I would say the only time is if you don't have to deal with drifts. And so I'm thankful that I bought it, and I feel as though I have a responsibility to show everybody, because there's not a whole lot of information or videos on this specific series of blower. But overall, I would urge you to stay away from it. And now I hope John Deere doesn't come after me for that, but I just do not think that this snowblower can handle what most people will put it through on a day-to-day basis. And so, yeah, that's kind of my review on the Frontier SB1164P and SB1174P. And I hope that I helped you if you were kind of looking for what inverted snowblower, or if you were kind of curious about them. Those are kind of the real life, day-to-day caveats to owning one. And I can do a video on it if I still have it and we do have snow. It's obviously December 5th, 4th right now, and we still don't have any snow on the ground here in South Dakota. And so I'd like to, I will be trading it in, as I did just get a Normand. However, if we do have some snow, I will take some video, and I can link a few videos in the description of this blower being used. So thank you so much for watching. I hope that you liked this video, found it interesting. This winter, I would like you to stick around if you want to see more snowblowing videos. We'll be using my Normand, as well as I just got an HLA 2500 snow pusher for it. So I'll be doing a lot more reviews, and I'll have a lot more videos showing those snow events once they come. And please ask any questions. There's not a whole lot of community around this inverted snowblower market, and so I kind of want to be another face and another person who can answer questions that are very hard to get answered unless you know people. So thank you so much for watching David's Outdoors, and I hope that you subscribe and maybe check out my other videos. Stay tuned for more. Thanks.